The Chicago Bears have rebuilt their entire offensive line. It's officially a new era in Chicago, and Ben Johnson has wasted no time building the bully ball we saw in Detroit. 3 new offensive linemen will protect Caleb Williams in his sophomore season. Drew Dalman was the latest add. The number 1 center in free agency has signed with the Chicago Bears on a 3-year, $42 million deal that includes $28 million guaranteed. That makes Dalman the second highest paid center in the NFL. You couple that with a trade for Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson going for a 2025 6th round selection. And Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football, for a 2026 4th round pick. And you have secured the interior offensive line and the protection for years to come for Caleb Williams. This is just about as good as it could get if you're a Bears fan. This is absolute perfection from the Bears front office and this new regime, and I think it's time to take the Chicago Bears serious. Let's dive into these players. Make sure to spike the like button so more football fans and more Bears fans can find this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more NFL free agency news and breakdowns just like this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the Bears' new offensive line. It could be one of the best in the NFL. Working from left to right, you have Braxton Jones, a very underrated left tackle that I still think is going to remain their left tackle in 2025, but we shall see if Ben Johnson feels the same way. At left guard, you have Joe Thuney, a former Patriot, a former Chief, a multi-time Super Bowl champion, and not only is he a great player, but he's also a great leader as well. He will set the tone for this new era of the Chicago Bears. Drew Dalman at center, a guy that I think is going to open up their running game with his athleticism and his movement in space. Right guard, Jonah Jackson, who's worked really well with Ben Johnson in Detroit and knows his offense really well. And at right tackle, a former first-round pick, Darnell Wright. That is the new Chicago Bears offensive line. Where do I even begin? I think we've got to start with the latest, and I'm actually kind of fortunate and lucky I didn't talk about Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney independently, because this makes this video so much better, so much more nuanced and in-depth. So we're going to break down each move here. When it comes to Drew Dalman, he is a guy that I feel like is not well known for a majority of football fans. He's obviously a center. It's not a position that's marquee. It's not a position that's discussed or thought of, across NFL circles. Only diehard NFL fans will really know this guy inside and out. But last year, he was graded as the 4th best center in football, according to PFF. He did only play 554 snaps, though. So somewhat of a concern could be potentially the availability for him, but he's in his prime, like on the younger side, I would say. Overall, he did grade at a 79.8 run blocking grade, which was 5th in the NFL last season. And throughout his 4 seasons in the NFL, he has only graded at worst as the 14th best center in football, which was his 2nd best season. Even as a rookie, he was very, very good, right? He's a little bit on the undersized side for a center. I would say he's more quicker than he is physically dominant in terms of power and strength. He's only listed at 300 pounds, and that does make sense. I think he's a little bit more on the undersized side. He was the 3rd best center in 2023, according to PFF, and 4th in 2024, 12th in pass blocking, 5th in run blocking this past season. When we look, at his numbers, I feel like this is definitely a move that I didn't think they would make. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that they would spend so much money on the O-line at guard and then also double down at center. But I guess if you're going to do it, you're going to do it, right? So Drew Dalman, only 4 years in the NFL. He is 26 years old. He turns 27 in October. He played 9 games last year. He played 14 the year before. So I guess there's a little bit of that that injury risk with him, but that's similar to like a Frank Ragnow in Detroit, which Ben Johnson had, and Ben Johnson had that great center. Like, a lot of people overlook Frank Ragnow in Detroit because of how good Penei Sewell has been and some of the other players like Decker, right? But Frank Ragnow has been essential to their running game, their screen game, their ability to protect the middle of the pocket. And if you've looked at Caleb Williams through his first season in the NFL, and if you even look at his past film in college, like, that's a guy that definitely needs that extra moment, that extra beat, that extra protection, because he's a guy that likes to hold on to the ball. He likes to play a creative style of football. He likes to be the guy to extend plays. So with that style of quarterback, it's a lot like Patrick Mahomes, where Mahomes doesn't want to live in a world where he's always having to throw the ball short, as much as that's what the Chiefs have been the last couple of years. Like, Mahomes wants to be the guy that extends plays, wants to be the guy that is going to be holding on the ball a little longer, because that's where he's at his most magical. That's where he's at his best. That is Caleb Williams. That's why you draft Caleb Williams. You draft him for his elusiveness. You draft him for his arm strength. You draft him for his off-platform ability. You draft him for his explosive ability. But you don't have any chance to create explosives if you have no time. So I think the way that the Bears were looking at this was, let's build around Caleb. Let's make sure that he is insured. Let's make sure that he is protected. Let's make sure that he has every moment to be at his best, that he is confident in the pocket because he has guys in front of him that can protect him and he believes will protect him. And the interior is very important because Caleb is a guy that can be slippery outside the edges, and he's very good at avoiding that sort of rush. But when it comes from the interior, it's hard for him to manipulate and for him to step up into his throws and make those throws. And on top of that, this opens up the running game big time. This interior offensive line of the Bears, and everything about Ben Johnson's offense is based around the running game, right? We saw it in Detroit. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, the ability to run the football, be successful from under center, all the different styles of run, whether it be, duo runs, whether it be gap style, whether it be zone style. He wants to have that versatility. He wants to have those athletes that are going to be able to get in space and be able to move people as well. And all three of these guys are very experienced in a plethora of styles, in a plethora of different run styles. You look at Thuney and his experience in Kansas City and New England. You look at Drew Dalman's ability just as an athlete to move in space. And you look at Jonah Jackson and his experience in Detroit under Ben Johnson. And that's where he's played at his best. So yeah, just the Dalman contract, $42 million, 28 guaranteed, second highest paid center in football. But if you're going to give a guy that money, he's 26, he's in his prime, he's a guy that's going to instantly have an impact on their run and their pass game. It's very important for a young quarterback to have a center that can help him with protections, a center that's going to be able to be somebody that he can rely on. And, that relationship is a very underrated one. So I think the Dalman one is big time. I kind of expected another team to pounce on him because I didn't really think the Bears would go all in on their interior O-line quite the way that they have. But then you transfer the conversation to how this all comes together. Joe Thuney is the big one because Joe Thuney is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He's a multi-time All-Pro. He's played tackle. He's played guard. He's won Super Bowls with the Chiefs. He's won Super Bowls with the Patriots, the two recent dynasties in the NFL. He went for a 2026 fourth-round pick. As a Patriots fan myself, this guy is outstanding as a pass blocker, right? He has allowed only 7 sacks in his last 5 seasons. He allowed 0 last year in 2024. He was arguably the most valuable player for the Chiefs last season, having to play guard and tackle for them and have to kind of get them out of a jam where they had a horrible left tackle situation. He had a 90.2 pass blocking grade since 2021, which is the best among all guards in the NFL. This guy, Joe Thuney, it doesn't get much better. I mean, it doesn't get much more consistent in terms of availability. It doesn't get better in terms of the ability to just like not make mistakes. I mean, 0 penalties. I think 1 penalty in 1,015 snaps last season, right? 0 sacks allowed. That's an outstanding player. First team All-Pro, Pro Bowler. Like the accolade speaks for themselves. Like Thuney, he's a technician. He's the guy that in the Super Bowl for the Patriots, they asked him to just guard Aaron Donald. Like, there's just not many people that do that. So, like, that's how good this guy is. So he is going to be a guy that you can almost isolate on the inside. You never really have to worry about him being isolated against a Jalen Carter. You never really have to worry about him one-on-one with a Chris Jones. Like, he is that good of a guard that you can hold up one-on-one with him. You can use your double team to the other side of the interior. You can let Joe Thuney go one-on-one with the biggest dogs in football, and that is such an advantage in pass protection. But on top of that, he is a really good run blocker as well. You've watched Kansas City over the last couple of years and their ability to just get yards. Like, Kareem Hunt was just plunging for 3 yards a play. That's because the Chiefs were so good on the inside of their line. And once they moved Thuney to the outside, it really destroyed that facet and that strength of their game, because Thuney is not known for a tackle. He's not known for his tackle play. He can do it in a pinch if he has to, and if they're in a tough situation, right? And he could do that for Chicago if they really need him to. That's what he's being paid for. But ultimately, this is a guy that does more than play. This is a guy that's going to turn around the culture, that has plenty of experience being a champion, that can lead the entire offensive line, that can lead the entire offense. And he's a guy that they can rely on. He never misses games, like never misses games. I'm going to pull it up right now. I don't know if I ever remember Joe Thuney missing a game. And he might miss one, like 17 this year, 17 last year. 15 in 2022. So he missed 2 games that year. He was second team All-Pro, 3 straight Pro Bowls. He's 32, turning 33. He's played 16 games in 2016, 16, 16, 16, 16. Then when the schedule went to 17, he played 7. He's only missed 2 games in his entire career. 2 games in his entire career. Like, it just, honestly, for an offensive lineman, like, I don't know if you can really say anything more than what I just said. Like, he's available. He's a great attitude and personality in the locker room. He's a great individual. Like, it really doesn't get any better for an offensive lineman, honestly. So they just landed. He played 1,288 snaps last year, guys. 1,288. He was the 7th graded PFF guard last year. He had an 80 pass block, which was 3rd in the NFL. And you look at his career grades. I'm going to go through them. 12th in 2017, 6th in 2018, 5th in 2019, 10th in 2020, 8th in 2021, 5th in 2022, 2023, 8th, 2024, 7th. He's been a top 10 guard in the NFL every single season of his career since his rookie season, basically. 3rd in pass block this past year, 15th in run block. He is 6'5", pretty good height for a guard, 304. So again, not super big, kind of like Drew Dalman, but more of a guy that he's got a little bit more height to him than the typical guard, I would say. Now, the other addition was Jonah Jackson for the Chicago Bears. Jonah Jackson, 2025 6th round selection. He is graded as the 27th, 24th, 34th best guard in football. He's going to be, I would say, the 3rd best player out of these 3. Dalman is kind of seen as a top 5, top 7 center in football, especially when it comes to his run blocking. I feel like Thuney is seen as a top 5 guard at minimum, if not the best guard in football, in my opinion. He's at least in the top 3, I would say. And I think he'll remain that really until he retires. I think he'll be a top 5 guard in football, and he'll probably end up retiring with the Bears. And then when it comes to Jonah Jackson, I think the biggest thing you can say about him is the fact that, okay, he was playing his best football with the Lions, with Ben Johnson in that system. That's a big deal. Like, players are often system fits when they're not Joe Thuney's. You know what I'm saying? They're often system fits. So you look at Jonah Jackson, actually last year with the Rams, he was grading really well as a run blocker at 68.8, and a 67.6 grade is pretty good. That's actually would have been the 2nd best of his career, which would have put him in the top 25 among guards this season. 6'4", so decent height for the position, 3'11". Again, not overly massive, but really good movement, really good athlete. That's why the Rams coveted him last year, because he's going to be able to operate in both gap and zone scheme runs. And that's what he did in Detroit. He's also not that old. He's not much older than Drew Dalman. So Jonah Jackson is a guy, he's born in 1997, so he's a year younger than me. He is 28 years old. Just turned 28 in February. So he's not that old. He's only played 5 seasons in the NFL last year. A little bit of an injury concern with 4 games played. The years previous, 12 and 13. His contract, in my opinion, is a little expensive and a little bit on the expensive side, I would say. But I feel like because he's so familiar with Ben Johnson, and because we've seen him be a guy that's exposed to really elite level play at times in his career, like he's always been a good player, I feel like it's worth it. Like he's a Pro Bowler in his past. He does have a Pro Bowl on his resume in 2021, which was the best season of his career, right? So this is a guy that has Pro Bowl level upside. So you're talking about 3 guys that have Pro Bowl level upside on the interior of your line. You couple that with Braxton Jones, and you have Darnell Wright. I really like Darnell Wright coming out of the draft. I think he needs a little bit of coaching. I think in this system, he could be a much better player under Ben Johnson. And I feel like Braxton Jones has been one of the gems that the Bears have found over the last couple of years. Like, even if you look at the grading for Chicago, and this will be the interesting element, is how tried and true is this PFF grading? Because the Bears linemen last year individually graded well. That wasn't the problem. It was working as a cohesive whole. And what's interesting to me is Ben Johnson can take these individual pieces and he can coach them up. With the new staff that he has assembled, I feel like, okay, Joe Thuney, that's going to work anywhere, right? Drew Dalman, you would feel like in this type of system, Atlanta being mostly zone-based in their run game, I feel like he'll be able to work well. And then Jonah Jackson having familiarity, I feel like that will also work. Now, it's going to come down to those tackles being the wild cards. But you look at Braxton Jones, I mean, he was graded as the 21st best tackle in football last year. Like, despite everybody kind of getting on the Bears offensive line, he was 21st. He had an 80.8 pass blocking grade, guys. That is really good. Like, that's pretty good in the NFL. That's 17th. So he's definitely an above average level tackle. And he's young and he's still growing, and he'll play alongside Joe Thuney, which is going to help him even more on the left side. Darnell Wright was graded as the 16th best tackle in football, and he had an elite run blocking grade of 82.2. So now they'll be able to run the ball to the right. 1,000 snaps he played last year, Darnell Wright, in I think his second year in the NFL. Yeah, he really improved last year from 52nd to 16th, according to PFF. He was 9th best as a run blocker, 335-pounder, big boy. He's going to be able to move people. So I feel like their 2 bigger guys are on that right side, right? Jonah Jackson and Darnell Wright. So I could see them running the ball a lot to the right, kind of like Detroit did with Penei Sewell to the right side, and they had Kevin Zeitler last year. So the right side might be their overpowering run game side, and their left side could be their more finesse pass blocking side, which is ideal with a right-handed quarterback. His blind side is on the left. So if you have your 2 best agile pass blockers to the left, and you have your better, big boy movers to the right, that kind of creates an interesting dynamic as well. But you have 2 top 21 tackles. All of your guards and centers are listed rather in the top 10 or the top. Jonah Jackson is seen as the worst player according to Pro Football Focus. That's pretty good. That's Detroit Lions based offensive line. That's how good that is. So this is incredible. This is truly incredible for the Chicago Bears. I'm very happy for Bears fans. This is a great start for this offseason. I think they could use a running back to complement this offensive line. I feel like they could use a 3rd receiver if Keenan Allen decides to walk. I feel like defensively, they could use a defensive end. But honestly, the Bears are not that far away from contention because it all begins at the line of scrimmage. And I believe that the Bears need to work a little bit on their defensive line of scrimmage. But I think the offensive line of scrimmage has set themselves up for a breakout season for Caleb Williams in 2025. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Gronk spike the like button. I would be super excited and pumped. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. Peace. Bear down.